So we're running now.
Here we are.
It took a minute, but
Hey.
So welcome to the podcast, Andy Fox.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been I looked it up yesterday trying to set this up, and obviously I failed on that. It's been over a year since I've recorded one.
Holy smokes.
So Perry was the last one, and we were talking about like baby stuff before his kid came, and then obviously before mine.
Right.
So now it's been we took a baby break for the whole nesting phase, took strong hold with Des, and she's like, we got stuff to do.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so we'll just take a break. And then Evie came, and then obviously that break just kind of extended and extended. I was like, all right,
course.
I want to get back to it, hopefully. But yeah, so welcome to the podcast. And one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about was we met back in UMR like
20,
over 10 years now.
14,
Yeah,
13?
14, yeah.
14-ish.
So, all right.
Yeah,
and you were a
so
pretty
10.
big guy at the time, and you've lost a bunch of weight.
Yes.
How much are you down now?
Right at 120.
Dang, dude.
So started, my top out weight was 360.
Okay.
And then this quote unquote journey started, I was in the 345, 350 range. So not quite, but from my top out, I was right at 120.
That was your heaviest?
Right.
Okay. So what finally like motivated you to change?
Well, it's kind of a weird story because I had been wanting to change, wanting to get healthier for a long time. You know, we do annual physicals, we do all those things
Right.
through all the fire departments and all the stuff that we do. And nobody ever said there was anything that was wrong.
Right.
Lose weight, eat better, exercise. Great.
Yeah.
That's not the end all be all.
The information that even I get, they're just like, well, your cholesterol's a little high. Maybe you should stop eating meat and eggs. I'm like, no.
Right. So, you know, I got to the point where it's like I'm eating better than I ever have. I'm exercising more than I ever have. Why am I not losing weight?
Right.
Like this is unless I am like on a strict, calorie restrictive diet, I'm not losing weight at all. So it just got frustrating, and my wife in 2016-ish, I think, started a journey. She saw a picture and was like, I'm turning into my mom. She's like, absolutely not. So she started bodybuilding.
Right.
And so she was on a very strict meal plan for 2.5, 3 years. Like literally. And it was a challenge as a couple because I wasn't eating rice and chicken and green beans 6 meals a day.
Right.
So, that started a challenge. Well, then with her changes came the desire for me to change. And the more I tried, the more it just didn't work. Right.
Right.
Frustrating. I had gotten to the point, to be completely honest, I had gotten to the point where I just given up. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to be in this 340 to 350 range, and that's just where I'm going to be. Well, fast forward to a couple years ago, and we found a new doctor. And everything changed. Turns out, my thyroid, TSH is fine. That's what every doctor ever told me. But when you do a full thyroid panel, there's more at play. And so there's an inactive version of the thyroid that they can test, and that was unusually high, which skewed my TSH results to be normal.
Okay.
So everything else was low. Well, she put me on thyroid meds, and within the first month, I had lost 20 pounds. Literally done nothing but start taking those meds. And then I was like,
So literally hypothyroidism?
Yeah. And so at that point, it was like, well, if I start working out and doing some gear workouts and doing some
really
stuff at the station, I was like, okay, maybe I can kind of spur this along. Because at that point, I was, getting down in the 325 range. And it's like, hey, like I feel good. Like I'm seeing some movement. Let me see if I can spur this along. And so started working out at the station, doing gear workouts and things, because working out was never been a huge thing for me. Growing up, playing baseball, you weren't allowed in the weight room unless you're wrestling or playing football. That's just never been a huge thing. And so being efficient, so doing gear workouts, lifting weights while I'm doing the gear workouts, kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Right.
And then that kind of parlayed itself into working out on my off days. And so now, I go to the gym 5-6 days a week, and with very few exceptions. It's not the end all be all. I don't drop my whole world to make sure I'm at the gym, but being on shift every third day helps because we can work out, on duty. And then, if I had 6 days off and I felt terrible afterwards, but I went to that Air Coalition conference or whatever, and so 8 to 5, Monday and Tuesday, couldn't do anything.
How was that?
It was good. It was I figured it was going to be, teach you how to breathe or whatever. But it was there's a few techniques that we learned as far as breathing, SCBAs, that kind of thing, that really made a lot of sense. And
like what?
Call me crazy. Been in the fire service 24 years. Never was told, never realized, never knew that the Vibra Alert that we have is basically telling you are on your emergency air. So the way the cylinders are set up, because it goes off at 1500, that you've got a third to get in and a third to get out.
Right.
So, you're working in that process, coming and going, right? So when the whole goal is for you to be out before your Vibra Alert hits. And I can't tell you how many times in my career, and I've heard people and seen people do it, and I've done it myself, that I can see the exit. I'm going to keep working.
Right. I mean, especially like smaller houses too.
Right. But then what do you do when the floor caves in and you end up in the basement?
That's true.
That air that you're supposed to have as your emergency air,
right,
you've been using to pull ceiling.
Yep.
I was
Dude,
like, okay. All right, I'm starting to see this now because my job's to go home.
Exactly.
Right? If something happens to me, your job's to come get me.
Right.
My job's to do everything in my power to give you time to come get me. And if I'm breathing that emergency air, pulling ceiling, I've not done my job to help you. Therefore, someone's got to go visit my wife and kids.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Right.
Especially now that I got a little 8-month-old upstairs.
Absolutely. So that's something you start to think about. Your Vibra Alert goes off, it's time to go. Okay. We got to go swap.
Right.
And our SOPs say that, to that when that starts happening, you need to get out.
Right.
But again, people.
But we should be getting out before that.
Technically, yeah.
According to what they're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So anyway.
But I mean, like if you're not training, which I mean, obviously we should be, but I mean, like if you're not as efficient in your air consumption, that doesn't give you a lot of time to actually work.
Right. And that's a whole other thing too, right?
Right.
And being fit and being able to do those things and be able to sustain that heart rate, control your breathing. That's one of the biggest things, controlling your breathing and being conscious of it.
Yeah.
And focusing to not just suck down that cylinder as fast as possible.
I try and focus on like nasal breathing and like instead of just like holding my mouth open and being like
right.
Like literally just mouth breathing.
Well,
but,
and that was one of the things they were saying, you can prolong your cylinder that way.
Yeah.
But then there's different techniques once your Vibra Alert goes off and you're in a situation, there's techniques that they can take that last 1,500 pounds and make it last over an hour.
Yeah, if you can calm your breathing down, like the whole like turn the tank off and And
I didn't realize how much air we lost through the Vibra Alert.
Yeah, Denny Hall was telling me about that. I was like, that's insane.
Hey, you're low on air, but we're going to waste all this air in the process. Like what?
Do you know what the percentage of that is? Like how
I don't know the number. The Scott packs actually vent into the mask.
Okay.
So you're losing some, but not as much as like with an MSA.
Okay.
MSAs, they alert on the outside of the pack, and so it's just let go into the air.
Literally wasting it.
Correct.
Terrible.
Yeah. So anyway, so all of that, couldn't get to the gym on those days. After a few days not being in the gym, I start to feel some type of way. So that's kind of changed my whole mindset, right? Then once I got below 300 pounds, which was probably my biggest milestone that I never thought in a million years I'd be able to do. Never thought I'd get under 300 pounds. And haven't been under 300 since probably 2001, 2002. something like that. So it's been 20 plus years
Dang.
since, yeah. And once I got there, I kind of plateaued, which is partly my own fault because I wasn't working out as much, had a couple of vacations, the holidays, like all the things.
Life.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way a little bit.
The victory for me was I wasn't gaining.
There you go.
Like I was just maintaining that 290 range. Well, then, got moved to a different station, and everybody there's keto. So
that kind of helps.
Like there's not a single carb laying on the table. Like you got to produce your own if you're gonna.
Yeah. So
snacking went away, desserts went away. Potatoes and corn at dinner went away. Like pasta non-existent.
Dude, I'm at the point now where I don't even eat pasta. Especially on duty, it just sits heavy in your stomach. It's like a rock.
Yep.
And you don't feel as like efficient.
Yeah. And sometimes with people's specific eating habits, it's harder than than others.
Were you there the night that we did the nachos at 3?
Oh, yeah. And then we caught that fire?
Yeah, and then we caught the fire like right after I finished the second plate. I was like,
mm-hmm. In fact, there was somebody else on another fire that we had recently that went for a second plate of nachos at another station, and
yeah, I remember Chief came up.
Uked up his nachos.
He's like, "How you feeling, Wilson?" And I was like, "I ate too many nachos, Chief." He goes, "Been there." I did everything I needed to do. I felt like shit the entire time. Came outside and I was like, "I'm gonna go throw up."
Mm-hmm.
Went behind the engine, threw up, and I was like, "Let's load some 5-inch."
Yeah, let's go. That was a hot night. Golly, it was 95 degrees that day or something ridiculous, and then like right after dinner caught that call.
And I was just like,
yeah, I didn't eat that much, and I was miserable. Of course, I weighed 350 pounds, but still.
Yeah, it felt terrible. I felt great afterwards.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so that's kind of where I came from and what's been going on. Getting blood work every 3 months, and doc's just been tweaking my numbers.
Nice.
Or my meds.
Were you on other medications that you've like gotten off of now, or?
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to go into it.
Well, no, I'm due to go back to the doctor in a few weeks. I just did blood work this morning, and I sent her a message. I was like, "Hey, I'm stopping my blood pressure meds." I said, "I'm tired of feeling like shit when I work out. Anytime, I'll get in gear and exert myself. Heart rate goes up. I dilate like crazy, and my blood pressure hits the toilet. Like it's been bad. Like I was doing back and shoulders at the gym, back and shoulders of all things." And I was like, oh, crap. Like, I had to go outside. Like, I thought I was going to throw up. I felt so bad. So I told my wife, I was like, check my radial pulse. And she's like, it's barely there. Okay, my pressure's in the tank,
Dang.
And that day, I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. Well, I did a heavy leg day on Monday and didn't get lightheaded at all. So I'm pretty certain. Because she had, after one of the fires that we had when I thought I was going to fall out, my blood pressure was 88 over 43. Yeah, like it was down pretty good. And
that's pretty low.
Of course, I felt terrible, and
of course,
know. And with that, she took me from 10 milligrams of lisinopril down to 2.5. But then I've still continued to lose weight along the way.
Right.
My body's, I'm not losing as much weight now as I have been, but my body's still changing.
Right.
In the sense that I'm getting stronger, and I feel like I'm leaning out a little bit more. Even though I'm not seeing the weight loss quite as much. But so that's hopefully what we're going to be doing. I got a hypertension diagnosis years and years ago. Always been on a low dose, but hopefully getting off of that completely now.
That's awesome though.
Got a type 2 diagnosis about 3 years ago. So about a year before this whole process started, which my A1C topped out at 11. I think it was 11, like 11.2 maybe, something like that, which is ridiculous. Like my day-to-day blood sugar was close to 300. And I'm like, Doc, whatever these meds are, they're not working. Like,
jeez.
This is ridiculous. I can't sustain this. Well, your insurance won't cover. Well, you know what? Called, fussed at insurance. They're like, well, you got to do this. You got to do that. I'm like, I'm dying. Like my body is getting wrecked and nobody cares.
Right.
And which is what led me to another doctor. That's how all that started.
Des and I were talking about that the other day, just the whole health insurance thing. It's like they don't even want to like pay for the stuff that is necessary, And then we're coming from the side of we're pretty healthy individuals, and we don't use we don't go to the doctor all the time.
Right.
We're not having to use it. And then when we do need it for Evie's helmet, it's like $2,500 out of pocket because we haven't met our deductible, even though we had a baby this year. We're like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very frustrating. My wife has Meniere's disease, and so she's
What's that?
It's basically an inner ear issue.
Okay.
I can't tell you specifically. I know it causes her to have vertigo spells. Okay. So the drainage in her ear doesn't work quite right, and it causes hearing damage. And so she has
throws off equilibrium.
Right.
Okay.
So she has hearing aids.
How old is she?
50.
Wow.
So, and she's had them for 3 or 4 years now.
Okay.
The ringing in her ears is terrible. Like, she had a ton of problems in her right ear growing up. Tubes, perforated eardrums, the whole thing.
Okay.
Left ear's the one that's got Meniere's. So, unbeknownst to me, hearing is elective. Insurance will not pay a dime for hearing aids. I don't know if you looked at the price of them lately.
I have not.
Decent ones are about $3,000.
Jeez.
Like, you can get the cheap ones for $1,500. You see those at Costco and Walmart all day. But there's the ones that are actually made for stuff like that. You have to get 2 of them because they work together. Yeah, it's about $4,000 a piece out of pocket.
Our healthcare system is just nonsense.
That might be another topic for another day.
Well, that was actually something I was kind of hoping to lead into. Just like
we can definitely get into it because it's ridiculous.
So just right on that. How do you feel about RFK Jr. jumping on with Trump and tackling all of America's health issues?
I don't know all the details specifically in regards to what he's done and what's going on. I do know that as a whole, this country has to start looking at healthcare. Healthcare in general starts with the food that's on your plate.
100% agreed.
Ironically, I saw a thing on Facebook a couple days ago, and I only look at it about maybe once or twice a week anymore on my laptop, but I saw a thing on Facebook, and it says everybody's talking about, breast cancer awareness and prevention, and we're going to go for a walk, and we're going to raise this money. And all these companies are saying all these things about breast cancer, but they're not removing the products from their food that cause cancer in the first place.
I was literally saying something to Des a couple of days ago, how they do breast cancer awareness stuff, and then they make a bake sale with a bunch of cake, brownies and cupcakes and all that stuff. I'm like, sugar is just one of the biggest factors for cancer alone.
Sugar, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then we're just like,
we won't talk about high fructose corn syrup and all the dyes and
that's in everything.
I mean, yeah.
So yeah, RFK was saying he wants to start with the school system alone, removing all processed foods from public school. So then that way it's not a part of any meal plan. And then one of the other things was the reference to, say, Canadian and European foods versus the American foods. So
night and day.
Yeah, just take Fruit Loops, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that they brought up multiple times. It's just the other countries' versions don't have red dye number whatever
40.
and blue dye.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually beet color or turmeric or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
These natural dyes, and the ingredient list is that long versus the American.
Yep.
You're what the heck? They're literally poisoning us.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah, it'll get you fired up.
Yeah.
Go to Costco. Look at the Mexican Coke versus regular Coke. What's the difference?
Yeah.
No difference except for cane sugar versus high fructose corn syrup.
Yep.
Your body knows how to use cane sugar. It knows what to do with it.
Yeah. And having one every once in a while is actually not terrible for you.
Right.
You don't need to be drinking them every day, but yeah. These people who just drink the stuff nonstop, it's insane.
And I've been guilty of this lately because I don't want the extra sugar in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So you drink the zeros.
Yeah, but then you're getting like the phenylalanine and
Right.
aspartame.
You're getting
and
all the other fake sugars.
the sucralose,
Right.
which I found out after pounding a Celsius a day during medic school that sucralose predisposes you to diabetes. I was like, wonderful. I had like a couple weeks left. I was like, maintain the status quo. I was like, just keep it going.
Just keep it, let it
I
ride.
was like, this is finished medical school because I was doing. Justin and I were doing the large iced coffees in the morning, those super tall ones. And then after lunch, I would crack open a Celsius. So I'm just like wired on caffeine and just crap. I ate terribly during medical school.
Listen, medical school kills a lot of people that way.
Yeah.
Just, it's bad.
And then I was like, then I found out about all the stuff like sucralose, and I was like, okay, just maintain it. I was like, let's just get done, and then I'm quitting. I'm done. And I haven't touched any of them since.
It's, I mean, every now and again, here and there, I mean, whatever. Your body's going to deal with it. But
if I actually just want an energy drink now, the cleanest one I found is just the OG Red Bull. It's,
really?
Yeah. Just the original Red Bull is actually one of the cleaner.
I tried one of those. They just don't taste good.
They don't have all the flavors for sure.
I like something that
no, they do.
tastes decent.
But the OG one, like,
Yeah.
not bad. And just my non-educated.
Right. What about Alani's? I know those are supposed to be pretty good too.
I haven't looked into that. I
think Alani and Celsius are kind of the two, like, cleanest, if you will.
Well, Celsius has those sucralose.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like you're getting rid of the sugar, but then you're substituting it for something far worse.
Was that like vaping instead of smoking?
That's a whole nother issue. All the guys who still vape in the.
I'll just keep opening these cans for you.
Oh, shit. But yeah, so like the health issue for America, definitely like one of the bigger things going on. And then what do you think about the whole election process as a whole right now?
I'm tired of it.
One, just tired of seeing the footage.
Yeah,
How many text messages do you get a day?
At least a dozen.
2% match, or it was like 100% match, 2,000% match now.
I'm like, come on, just $5 for a hat? No,
just leave me alone.
Right.
I already voted.
Lose my number, please. No, I hate election cycles just for that reason.
Yeah.
And then there's the, and I'm sure it's on both sides, but all the misinformation. Like, they'll just straight up lie about.
Yeah.
What I'm like, how can they even say this? How is there? If I said something like that, I'd be sued for freaking slander.
Yeah. Yeah, but the mainstream media can get away with like whatever they want.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother.
Yeah. Another can.
Yeah, we just keep popping these cans today. I like it. But yes, I'm on board as far as the food is concerned because, you take these kids that's all they have is processed food, processed sugar, right? All these dyes, all these chemicals in their body. And then.
Do you know who Mr. Beast is?
I don't.
No? Okay.
Well, I was going to say, but then these kids are told to sit down and shut up. And when they don't, they get ADHD. And then they get
on
medications that also have their own side effects and problems.
It's like, one, more than likely, they're just hyper little boys.
They're just kids.
Yeah, they're just
They
kids.
have to run. Put recess and PE back in school.
Yeah. And then you're just like putting them down and like putting them on Adderall. I mean, I was on Adderall as a kid and I had to force myself to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I did.
My son was that way. He's like, I hate this.
I hated eating. And then, like, once it worn off, like, I was hungry for dinner time, but just did not want to eat throughout the day.
Yeah.
It was just one of those side
Understood.
effects. Yeah. But I was hyper focused at school.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was going to say, like, Mr. Beast, he's, like, probably one of, I think he may be the highest subscriber count on YouTube now.
Really?
Yeah. And he's, like, only, like, 24, 25, something like that.
Wow.
Basically, him and his friends skipped their community college or their whatever. Like, they had graduated high school, and then they were just locking themselves in these rooms and breaking down the algorithm for YouTube. And they, like, essentially cracked the code. So, like, all his stuff, once he had basically done that, just skyrocketed. And now he's like super famous, and he gives away a bunch of money. He's got a secondary channel like Beast Philanthropy.
Wow.
Just opening like one channel would be like we created 50 wells in South Africa or wherever. It's just like we restored the vision of 1,000 people in South America.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's actually like a really good guy. But him and another famous YouTuber, Logan Paul, he's got Prime, which is like that. I guess it's like an energy Gatorade kind of drink.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Beast has what's it called? It's like the chocolate not Crunchables. Whatever, something chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, just kind of like taking the Hershey bar and now advertising it to the new generation. And so, like, these two guys came together along with like some other YouTuber and are basically rebranding Lunchables in their own way.
Okay.
And
isn't that what charcuterie boards are? It's grown folks Lunchables.
Yeah,
meat and cheese and some crackers.
A little bit like the F version, like the failed version, and then like the But yeah, I mean, like they're basically like creating these little Lunchable kits full of sugar, full of dyes, full of terrible stuff. And apparently the Prime drinks have like all these like permanent, the PFAS? PFAS, the forever chemicals.
Yep.
Apparently it's full of that. And then they're like, here you go, kids.
And sit there and be quiet.
Sugar, chemicals, bunch of crap. And it's like, kids can't.
And actually, the best drink I've found lately is I like the Body Armor Zero.
Okay.
So Body Armor Zero is sweetened with stevia.
All right.
So I've been doing that. So you get I think it's 10 calories in a whole bottle. So it's really not too bad. And it's coconut water based, and it's good for, on fire scenes, rehydrating, working out, gear workouts, whatever. I've noticed a huge difference in just in the uptake versus like if there's nothing else, I'll drink a Gatorade.
Right.
Just, you need the electrolytes.
Yeah. If you need it, you need it.
Right. But as a whole, I don't do Gatorade or Powerade or any of those other commercial.
I don't drink it unless it's like literally on a fire scene.
Right.
I basically just take electrolytes now. And it's like I found this one, Dr. Price's electrolytes. Get them off Amazon. It's like a little can, and you just take a scoop, and I'll drink like 3-4 of those a day. Just lemon lime flavor, nothing else.
Right.
Just getting a little bit of electrolytes and naturally sweetened. And I'm like, all right, much better than drinking energy drinks or sodas or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So back to more of like the election stuff. Did you see that he went on, or did you see that Trump went on Joe Rogan?
I did. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. That said, it was what, a 3-hour thing or something.
Pretty standard for his show, but like it just like exploded. Like it has been, I think the views like even within like a week were already like 40-50 million, something like that.
Well, Joe Rogan's ridiculous in his stuff anyway.
Right.
And is he considered a conspiracy theorist? Because he goes down a lot of those pathways.
I would say yes.
I mean,
we're all kind of conspiracy theorists at this point.
Well,
if you question anything.
What's the actual difference between a conspiracy theory and a truth? It's about 6 months.
Yeah. Just give it time, and it's
right.
like,
okay.
Now, Sasquatch and aliens, like that's a whole nother thing. But
yeah, we can draw the line somewhere.
Yeah. They exist. Go up to Cherry Log, what was it, like 15-20 minutes, and you could do Expedition Sasquatch or whatever.
Go look for him.
Yeah, go look for him. But yeah, I mean, like he had like this really good conversation with Donald Trump, and it's interesting to see, just from like my point of view. I try and watch some of the interviews that like Kamala will do with was it MSNBC and whatever, and you just you see that she can barely formulate like a coherent sentence along with like answering the actual question.
Right.
And then you can go to Donald Trump, who's just, yes, he's got his own way of talking, and he elaborates a lot. It's just like, beautiful people, great guys, love them to death.
Right.
Always repeats the same kind of thing. But I mean, at least it's like you're actually having a conversation with a human being.
Right. I've noticed that in a lot of the unless she's just reading straight from a script, there is no ability to ad lib and just talk about the issue and just have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like off the cuff, you know.
Yeah, it seems like she can't.
Which isn't much different than the current president. So.
Yeah.
He can't do it either.
Yeah. I mean, he's barely functioning as a human being.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole just can't formulate like an actual sentence. Just kind of just irritates me. I try and like watch her and be like,
it's hard.
And it literally is hard just to like, okay, I'm done. And you just click pause and like, I can't. I like, and I'm like trying to give her a chance of like trying to understand the other side. And I'd love to actually like just sit down and have a conversation with like, say, a Democrat who they know they're just going to vote for Kamala just based off party lines.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes to that point where it's like, why are you voting for them? And it's like, I'll be the first to admit, like, I'm not a Donald Trump fan.
Agreed.
Like when he first came in and like everyone's like, yeah, Trump, I'm like, he's a troll.
Yeah.
Like he trolls people. He's like, he's not exactly what you would call the representative diplomat for a country.
See, I liked Herman Cain in that to begin with.
He was good.
But then,
and like, I mean, you got to give it to Obama in that scenario of like, dude, like he was very well spoken. He played the role of the diplomat.
Yep.
But when it comes down to it, it's like Trump had results.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to argue with it.
Yep.
Would I wish like somebody else would fill that role of the presidency than either of them? Absolutely.
I've said that 100 times. When you give me Hillary and Trump to choose from, you're telling me that's the two best options we have out of 360 million people in this country.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Trump comes across as like an actual like genuine like nice human being, at least. But just the whole diplomat for a country, that's where I'm just like, okay.
Well, and I feel like the country needs to be run like it's a business.
And he does a great job of that.
You don't have to know everything about everything.
Right.
Because you're not ultimately the one making all those decisions.
Yeah, eventually
you've got your cabinet
Yeah.
of those people that are specialists in those fields.
Right.
And so they're that's why they advise you, and then, you kind of work through the whole process, and it's almost always a group effort making a decision. It's not just Trump saying, I think we need to go do this and make it happen. Like,
yeah, he even admitted on Joe Rogan was talking about how he was kind of convinced to hire other people for cabinet positions that he didn't really necessarily know or agree with, but it was more so they've already been vetted. They're part of the political machine, and like they're already kind of like set for the job.
Right.
Versus now bringing in the outsiders. And he's like, yeah, I admit, like, I didn't necessarily know exactly what I was doing day one, but as time goes on, like that surrealism fades away and you start to like understand. He's like, yes, I'm a businessman and I understand business on the macro scale, but the minutia of like smaller stuff, he's like, okay, well, I'll defer to this person. But he's like, yeah, I chose some wrong people.
I forget what CEO it was. Excuse me. That basically, I don't know if it's a CEO, elected politician, somebody had made a statement about being in their position and hiring their opponents. Yeah. As part of their advisor group, because they were on the other side of the coin. Right. So they were always going to give me a different perspective. Right. Than the one that, you don't need a bunch of yes men around you. You need some people that are going to challenge you. Right. Bring up the play devil's advocate all the time, and be able to see things from a 360-degree view to be able to make those good decisions. Yeah. And like whether or not that like you agree with them, it's like, hey, at least I voiced my opinion. Right. And then you just like, you fall in line because like that's your job. It's like, hey, like I'm here to provide you like as much of like a different point of view as possible. Mm-hmm. And if you don't agree with me, that's on you. But at least like I did my job, and you've seen another side of the coin. Exactly. And like I've heard from Trump, like he even talks about that. Like he loves to have conversations with people, and they're like, dude, he'll just have like a random conversation with like some person 20, 30 minutes and get into like the minutia of like stuff. And I'm like, that's actually like that's the guy that you want to have. That's what we need. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he's got a lot of good qualities for sure. But is he like the perfect candidate for sure? Like, no. But does that exist? But better than the other side. Less bad? Yeah. So, I mean, that's just from my point of view. And if you want to vote for Kamala, then like that's your choice, and like I'll respect that, because like that's our Republican or Republic democracy. Right. That allows for that. It's just I love getting into the debates because I like to learn other sides of stuff and just kind of try and see it from another point of view. But I have yet to be given anything of substance as to why. What policy do you agree with? What is there that you agree with that's going to be more beneficial?
Well, I just think she'll be a great president, a woman of color. I'm like, so that who cares?
Like, I thought making decisions based on race and color and sex is not allowed anymore. So why are we doing this?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, she'll be a woman president. I'm like 6 months ago, you couldn't even tell me what a woman was.
They still can't.
And now it's
and that's the other thing, right? You see all the commercials, and it's like, oh, the government's job is not, or the government shouldn't be in my business. It's my body. It's my choice. Yeah, unless it's a COVID shot. And then the government is. So you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, either it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. And it just gets me so fired up about stuff like that. Because you bring that up and it's like crickets. They're like, you're just a hater. You're just a bigot.
Yeah.
They
Fascist.
just turn into name calling because they got nothing else.
Yeah.
It's always interesting.
We'll go down to like one of Evie's appointments, or we'll head south, and like for us it's like an hour drive
to the big city of Canton,
or like Kennesaw.
Ooh, road trip.
So we'll be like listening to podcasts, and like we'll hear like different stuff, and Des is always like, "Can I pause it?" And then I'm like, "Yeah," hit the pause on the little dash, and then we end up having this like 15-20 minute like side conversation because
you can't help but get fired up sometimes.
Yeah. But she stays in like her own little realm for sure, and she gets a lot of the information from me and like the podcast that like I listen to, and then she'll just get completely riled up, like she's just like on another level, just like fired up, and then I'm like, can we listen to the podcast? And she's like, this is exactly why I don't watch the news. Like, it's infuriating listening to these things day in and day out.
Listen, I've quit watching the news.
Yeah.
I'll put on whatever the music channel, not MTV because I don't play music, but whatever it is with our cable, and I'll just put on a music channel and just let that play in the background.
Yeah, that's what I do here. Just music in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it gets to a point where there's no real reason to keep watching the news. Like, if
remember at 3?
Oh yeah.
That's all that was on was the news.
Yeah.
And when we didn't have to watch the news, like, everybody's mood was better. Like, everybody was more relaxed. There was no tension. There was no, like, and it was crazy because I think you were the one that were like, no, turn that off. We're not watching this. Like, we don't have to today, so we're not gonna.
Yeah.
And like, it was a night and day difference.
Like it just angers you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you'd almost rather just be blissfully ignorant in some things.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I know like important things that are going on, but do I need to listen to the day to day? It's like, no, I don't, because it's only going to make me angry.
Well, I've said this to a few people here lately that I don't know when this happened, but my life got exponentially better at some point in the last 4 or 5 years when I quit caring about stuff I can't control. Right? So something's brought to me, kids, wife, whatever, and if I don't have direct control over the outcome, I process it and it's out the door.
Yeah.
Like, on any given day, I've got 10,000 things that I can control.
Right.
And if that's not one of them, I don't got the time or the energy.
Yeah.
So 0 F's given, right?
Right.
0 Fox given.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's just, it's something that's really turned into almost a mantra that I don't care.
Right.
My daughter will be like, well, we did it. I'm like, I don't care. What do you mean you don't care? I can't control the outcome of it.
Right.
So I don't care.
Didn't you bring up that, I think it was on Netflix, that documentary on like all the social media stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that, and just like it really just like hit home with me. I was like, dude, all the notifications that we get through our phones like on a daily basis.
And that was The Social Dilemma, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
And that was early, like Facebook and maybe Instagram was still new. Like there weren't. It wasn't like it is now. Like there's social media like crazy.
Yeah, I mean you got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat,
Twitter, X, whatever it's called now.
And then just like there's probably ones that we don't even know about.
Well, you got like I know like Discord is a big thing. You know, there's
that's like a game
Twitch,
thing. Reddit.
Yeah, right. But there's more like online forums like that.
Right.
That they just flood you with that stuff.
Yeah.
How do you have time for anything else?
Don't. It just consumes your life.
That's why I got social media off my phone.
Yeah.
It's creating issues.
I've deleted it, and then like I bring it back on, and then I delete it, and then I bring it back on, and.
Oh, it's creating issues at home.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we've got time to be together, but your face is in your phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching that documentary, and I shut off all vibrate functions on my phone. So like I'm not getting that phantom vibrate. So like when I turn mine on silent, like it's truly silent, and I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I don't get all like I've deleted like all the notifications except for like text message, an actual call, and I think ring, just having like the security camera kind of thing. Everything else, like I don't get the little red bubble that pops up on the iPhone. I don't get the notification. Like I don't know.
And if you're like me, you hate having those.
The red bubble.
I hate having notifications.
Yeah.
On the, you know,
like,
my wife's like, why do you always have to clear those off? I was like, because I can't stand to have them there.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not like you that has 140,000 unread emails. I can't do that.
Yeah, I see that number and I'm like,
it makes me start twitching. I'm like,
oh my God.
Fix this.
You over 500 text messages you haven't read? Like, how's that possible?
Why?
How do you even know when you get a new one at that point?
Right. So, yeah. But it's crazy because it's just two opposite sides of
the spectrum. Yeah, you got like the people who are like super OCD, clean and like neat and everything, and then you got like the messy, just like thousands of notifications.
And they always gravitate together.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite of my wife too. I mean, we're thankfully both neat and organized, but yeah, we are very much polar opposites. She's the extrovert that can talk to anybody, and then I used to be extroverted as a kid, and then I just kind of like slowly just like I don't care about other people and just kind of start focusing on my own world. And it's like when I get to know you, then I turn into the extrovert and the weirdo that you're like, what the hell's Wilson doing?
I told April the other day, I was like, the more I do people, the more I hate people. Like the more you're around them, and it's just so frustrating. People watching's fun, but it can get frustrating.
Yeah, and like
because people are in their own little world, like they're completely oblivious to the fact that you're trying to walk somewhere or do something, or you know, in the grocery store, they'll just stop and have a conversation on FaceTime, and I'm like,
in the middle of the aisle,
can like you pick a side or go outside, or I don't want to hear a conversation anyway.
So up here in LJ, we got like the Apple Festival.
Oh yeah,
the past 2 weekends, we didn't even go out.
No,
we just stayed inside. Oh no, it was like I think it was two. It wasn't last weekend, but the following two. But yeah, we went out last weekend, and we just went to our local coffee shop in downtown LJ, and people were just like bumping in. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, are you that oblivious to like everything around you?
Yeah.
That you're just walking into people?
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's
my wife gets road rage walking behind people.
Just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Just people's situational awareness these days it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're so soaked up in their phones, like even just like walking around or just talking to somebody else that they just.
And that's something I've tried to teach my kids. Like you have to pay attention, you know. And I'll give you a for example, and I love this. In at the EMS conference in Savannah, there was an instructor that I was teaching with, who was down there, and her situational awareness. She was walking along the river, riverfront. Excuse me, and noticed that there was a guy that had been following her and was, you know, not terribly far behind, but not, you know, right up behind her either. And she still had probably another quarter mile to go before she got to the hotel where the conference was. And so she kind of slowed down and let the guy close the distance just a little bit, but then was on her phone and said loud enough, you know, yeah, you know, I see you, you know, I'll be there in just a second or whatever. Like, you know, some reference to someone can see her and
Right.
I'm meeting somebody else, and the dude turned and went the other way. If your face is in your phone, you don't pay attention to what's around you.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many people, you know, because I've been doing a lot of traveling lately. You know, been to Miami, Seattle, New York City, Philly, you know.
Put some miles on there.
Oh, yeah. Last year, it was New York City, Miami, and Seattle. So 3 of the 4 corners of the U.S. Last year. Anyway, and, you know, people are like, oh, those cities are so dangerous. I can't even go there. I'm like, it's no different than downtown Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't even go
Like, you just have to pay attention to where
Right.
you're at. Like, you just have to understand where you're at and what's going on. We rode the subways. We do our own thing. Like, we don't go down side alleys. We don't, you know, we're not out at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, I feel like it's common sense, but I guess it's not.
Are you flying or driving?
We drove to Maine.
Okay.
This past August, we drove to Maine. That was a 24-hour drive. That was fun. Stopped in Pennsylvania for an overnight, but
24, dang.
took the dogs with us, and yeah, it was maybe 30 minutes south of Canada. It was way up there.
Jeez.
So her aunt and uncle have a cabin, and it's absolutely beautiful. So we spent 2 weeks up there.
And what time of year?
End of August.
Oh, perfect.
So it didn't suck.
It's still kind of warm, but
it was in the 40s and 50s at night. We got sunburned
Oh.
at 74, 75 during the day.
Okay.
So it was cool enough at night. We could have fires and long sleeves. And
Do you carry when you travel?
I always carry.
My man.
Wait. My guns were lost in a boating accident years ago.
I didn't lose shit.
I didn't do it. I don't even know where they are.
Stupid ATF.
Yeah. Why are they listening?
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing too. Get me riled up on that one. Just making their own rules that aren't even constitutional, like
Oh, yeah.
a bunch of bullshit.
I concur.
But yeah, the whole travel thing. So you're always carrying everything and like situational awareness. Do you try and just like be like the gray man in that kind of scenario? You understand that concept?
No.
Of like you're not sticking out so much that like say you look like the tourist, but you just kind of blend into what's going on, but you're still like situationally aware of what's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, it's hard not to be the tourist when you're taking pictures of stuff, and it's, you know,
Right.
you can always tell people that aren't from here,
Right.
oh, look at this, click, 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 you know, and
Yeah.
I'll take pictures to document our trips and things like that, because at some point I'm not going to be here, and my kids will have memories of stuff that I've done, and so, but I do try to just kind of blend with everything. Like, there's no
Yeah.
reason to stand out. Of course, we went to New York City last year in January, and I was walking around with my Braves gear on after we put the Mets out, and yeah.
Old.
Well, ironically, the first comment I got was a high five, go Braves,
Yeah, there you go.
and I was like, fantastic. So, yeah.
Dude, I haven't even kept up with baseball or sports in like a couple years now. It kind of got to a point where everything going on is like,
Yeah.
One,
It's been
baseball
hard.
has so many games. It's hard to keep up with them.
Yeah.
And then it's just the stop and start on everything. It's like, man, I'd much rather just like if I am going to watch a sport like soccer or hockey. Honestly,
Yeah.
I wish the Thrashers never moved.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about bringing them back. Or not the Thrashers, but bringing back a team.
Somebody to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear anything about this.
Yeah, they're I think it was Forsyth County. They had a huge piece of land that they were trying to get a professional hockey team back.
That would be awesome.
So
I've been actually wanting to go up to Nashville just to watch like a Predators game.
Nashville's not a bad ride.
No, it's not that far.
Mm-mm.
I got a friend up in Nashville.
Except Chattanooga sucks.
Going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I-24. No boy, no.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Other than that,
But yeah, it's
it's
not
not a
that
bad
far.
ride.
And you could just like you could go up there, see a Pred game for a night, grab a hotel.
Yep.
But yeah, I actually miss watching hockey games.
Enjoy the downtown. I've never been to a hockey game.
No?
Nope.
They're fun.
Of all the sporting events I've been to, hockey's not one of them.
Dude, I've I went a couple times with some friends and really enjoyed just like the nonstop action to it. There's no breaks.
Right.
It's just slamming people into wall. And you're like, I'm like, just fight, somebody fight.
Right.
Like you want to see like just
Right.
like they're holding on to you, just going at
I
it.
did get into it back in the day. I was in college, late '90s, when the Red Wings and Colorado Avalanche hated each other. And I'll never, because one of my roommates was from Detroit, so he was a huge Red Wings fan, and so hockey was always on. And I'll never forget one of the games. Like, there was people that came over, like it was a whole huge thing, and I was like, it's just a freaking hockey game. Who cares? As soon as the puck dropped, everybody squared up.
Yeah.
Literally, there's 5 different fights going on. The goalies were fighting. I was like, this is awesome.
Is that the God, what's his name? The 2 goalies that fought, because it's very rare that when the goalies do it. Crap.
I want to say Patrick Waugh was one of them.
Yeah, Patrick Waugh.
And I can't remember.
Yeah.
Chris Osgood, I think, was the.
I don't remember the other guy, but yeah, Patrick Waugh. And they just like meet up, and you're like,
Yep.
Even the goal, yeah.
I was like, this is
I had a
awesome.
huge hockey, a friend who was a huge hockey fan, and he was the one who took me to multiple hockey games back when the Thrashers were here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, check this guy out, because he was a big goalie guy. He was a bigger dude, and when he played, he loved being the goalie, so he knew all about Waugh.
I don't want people hitting that little puck at me that hard.
Dude, some of those guys who don't wear the face shield, I'm like, that's ballsy.
Yeah.
I mean, like just missing teeth and everything.
Pass on that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Like I think I'd want the shield at least, but you know it's gonna fog up at the same time.
Well, I don't have or I guess college has like the cages now, like almost like face mask, like NFL or football face mask.
Yeah.
So the puck can't come through, but you know.
But then once you get pro, you're just like, screw the cage.
I'm a man.
Yeah.
I can take it. Yeah.
I love watching the clips. Like honestly, like just talking about it now, I'm like, man, like I really want to go see a Predators game. That'd be cool to do.
I think hockey just started, didn't it?
Honestly, I don't know. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I've fallen out of sports.
I think it
much.
falls in line with basketball. We're fairly close. So I think hockey started.
I'd have to check.
Nashville road trip.
Let's go. Yeah.
I'm all about traveling. My sister lives up there, so I got a free place to stay.
Yeah, I got a friend up there. I could probably call him up, and
There you go.
I haven't hit him up in a while. So yeah, I mean we're coming up on an hour, anyways. Kind of like
smokes already.
yeah. So the last thing that I typically do is just kind of like a dad advice kind of thing for the world. You can say whatever you want, just kind of like it could be to any advice for anybody, or it could just be like dads or whatever you want to do.
Shoo. That's a lot. Like that's a big open-ended. Yeah.
Have at it.
Holy smokes. I don't know, just in general, probably relationally, you've always got to be working to get better. One of the big things with my wife and I coming up on 25 years, things can be great, but we're still going to go to a marriage conference. We're still going to go to seminars. We're still going to, like, one of the big things through work that we have is the counseling. And we've been doing that every couple months.
Really?
Just as a maintenance. I'd rather take good to make it great, right? And,
right.
And there's stuff that we've gotten into that we had no idea was even an issue. But the counselor's been able. So we've done stuff together, but then we've also split off and done stuff individually. But the counselor's got or the therapist, whatever, has all sides, right? Because she understands April and her stuff, me and my stuff, and then how we come together and how that stuff affects everything. So it really works out well because that way she's got all the information. It's not just April going to a counselor and telling her side of the story and me going and telling my side of the story and then coming to somebody else together as a marriage counselor.
Right.
She's getting all of it. So she knows why April reacts this way, why I'm reacting, and she can speak truth into both of us that way. So it's been night and day. And then, dad advice. No one ever told me that these cute little kids were going to grow up to be assholes as teenagers. The highest highs and the lowest lows. You're like, I have failed as a human being. but then in their 20s, you're like, huh, okay, I've done okay. You start looking at it, that frontal cortex starts developing, and they start realizing and understanding, and they'll come back and say thank you, and I appreciate everything you did. I didn't agree with it at the time. I didn't like it, but I understand why you did it, and I am who I am today because you did it. So those little things will come back and make you feel better, but you're going to have trials and tribulations and challenges, and you're going to feel like the worst parent, the worst person ever, but then when they have that big success, or they, whatever it is, that school or sports or, like you get to celebrate that with them, and
right.
You get the highest highs, like I said, and the lowest lows, because they don't come with instruction booklets. So
right. Yeah.
all you can do is learn and grow. I think the biggest failure as a parent is not learning from your mistakes and repeating it with your second, third, and fourth child, or having a second, third, and fourth child, whatever that may be.
Stop at one.
Yeah, no more bottled water. We need cable at the house. I'm sure we know some people that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got an 8-month-old right now, and we're just like deep in it. Just she's got a helmet now because she's been laying on her back so much, like due to the whole preventing SID stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just like apparently, like now that they lay on their back, the head starts to get a little flat. So
news to me.
Yeah, we read somewhere that's just like they'll what you call it? They used to lay on the front, and then there was like a big side sleeper thing, and like now it's like laying on the back. It's just like as time changed, like we don't know what we're doing. We just keep changing things up.
Hey.
But
all you can do is learn and grow.
Yeah. So for us, like our biggest issue right now is just Evie just being an 8-month-old who can't talk, can't
Mm-hmm.
communicate any way, and just consuming every like second of your life. Like right now she's down for a nap, so it's like normally I'm like either just trying to get outside and do something, or just vegging out as like a mental recovery. I'm just like, so
at least every third day you get grown folks time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, still, it's not necessarily like a break some days.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
My youngest is 21, so.
Do you remember the baby days? Like, what would be like your biggest thing just for like specifically like baby time?
It's not a fair question to me because I work 48s.
Oh.
So I chose to pick up a second full-time job so my wife could stay home.
Okay.
So the issue in that was her job. By the time we paid for daycare and doctor visits, because the kids are always going to be sick in daycare because that's all they do is share germs. All the stuff, we started putting it all together, and it's like, it's net gain of $300 a month.
Right.
And we're paying somebody else to raise our kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can go flip burgers for that much. So we made the decision for her to stay home. I would rather work more to allow her to be home and raise the kids.
Right.
And so that's, for 3 years I worked 48s.
That's rough.
It was rough, but
worth it.
Well, yes. And, Austin was a little bit older. He was 5 when we got married, and no, 3, sorry. Shoo. Anyway. And, he was 5 when I started working 48s. So he kind of halfway had an idea during that 5 to 8 range. But Ainsley was brand new. Autumn came in at the end of that. So there wasn't much I could do for them specifically anyway.
Right.
Being so little, there's Des can do a lot more than you can for the baby, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And so that's where, we kind of made that decision.
Yeah.
But then as they grow up, you want to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
When they can remember and be active and do stuff and interact with you and, whatever. So that, that slowly shifted away from doing 48s to just working 12s. At least I'm home at night.
Right.
Which then, turned into multiple part-time jobs, but nothing consistent.
Right.
So I had the opportunity to set my own schedule.
Okay.
To be home or be there for a doctor's appointment or, whatever. So working at home became a big thing for me on my part-time. Nice. And, of course, April cutting hair works at home anyway, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read this one quote about parenting. Desperately wanting a break, but never wanting to miss a moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang. Like,
Yeah.
just even like in 8 months, I'm like, yep, I can totally agree with that.
Yeah. That's 100% truth.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, all right, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that went pretty quick.
I did. Holy cow.
So, all right. Bye, everybody.